Good morning, everyone. I am laughing at Isaiah. Whenever I come in here laughing, you should know I'm laughing at Isaiah. All right, y'all. It is so good to be alive and be seen today. And it's so amazing and grateful to see all of you. I see you, Marion Jackson. I see you, Shirley Nicholson. I see you, Jeffrey Allen James, coming in. I see you, Tracy Burrs, coming in. For those of you who are on Twitter or YouTube or LinkedIn or audio, or all the podcast platforms, you're probably saying, how can I get my name out here? You can get your name out here by just emailing us. You can email us at newsinmotionwithgail@gmail.com, and that's GAIL. So that's newsinmotionwithgail@gmail.com. Just say, hey, I'm tuning in from the podcast platform, from another digital platform, or as an audio listener. Just say, hey, shout my name out, and this is who's in the car with me, or this is who's in the room with me watching. I will do that. I see you, Latrice Jones. I see you, Jacqueline. I see you, Hester. I see you, Tracy Burrs. I see all of you this morning. Welcome, 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 everyone from all the podcast platforms. Welcome. Had a conversation with Gina, the audio engineer. And by the way, if y'all are looking at producing, promoting, launching, starting anything when it comes to podcasts, you got to check out Gina Winks. You got to check out Gina Winks. She is the girl. She knows what she's doing. She is, in fact, an audio engineer. So I can get you in contact with her. I'm trying to get her to send me a commercial so we can put a commercial out here to talk about everything that she has to offer. We are so excited. We are so excited, y'all. Yesterday, rolled out the podcast. The numbers started coming in. I'm like, what? It's amazing when you don't realize the audience that you're missing, the commentary that you're missing, the response that you're missing until you do it. Y'all know yesterday I was very transparent and said, I'm a little nervous about this. What if no one tunes in from those platforms? They did. They did. And it appears to be well received. So we're going to keep paying attention to that. So, y'all, if you're listening in the early morning, or if you're listening in the afternoon, or you're watching a replay later, we just want to say thank you for allowing us to spend a little bit of time with you. We try to keep it to 30 minutes, but it's not happening. We started out with 7 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes. It grew to 30 minutes. Now it's going to about 40, but we're trying to bring it down to that 30. But today is not going to be the day to do that, because I have a lot of information to share with you. Latrice Jones says, it's a great day to be alive, isn't it, sis? Adrian Gaddish, what's up? Coming in from YouTube. Dr. Antoinette, what's up? Dr. Antoinette, I got to be honest with you. I'm a little disappointed. I understand why they don't want to give him a television platform to testify, but I was so ready to see that one. I wanted to see that one so bad. The other thing we learned on yesterday was that people were tuning in and they only appeared to be the only person in the chat. And I don't know what was going on there, but several people said that they thought nobody else was on. Well, I'm here to tell you there were a lot of people on. What's up, Dr. Angie? What's up? Coming. You're in Maryland now. I was going to say from Texas, but you're in Maryland. All right, Kim Edmondson, I see you coming through. Y'all, it is Tuesday, October the 25th, 2022, and it is time for today's headlines, along with the segment, It's on the Ballot. Last week, I talked about the Republican, the GOP, their commitment to America. Today, I'm talking about the Democrats, and they call it Where We Stand. And next Tuesday, I'll be sharing with you the independent piece. Y'all, with this weather changing in Ohio, my allergies, my sinuses, excuse me, all of that messes up. So all I can do is apologize. I have my water here to try to keep everything going, but hey, it is what it is. I see you, Camille Jones, rolling up in here. All right, y'all. Before we get started today, I actually cried yesterday afternoon when I learned of the passing of Leslie Jordan, a comic actor, an Instagram star who became that Instagram star during COVID. He died in a car crash yesterday in Hollywood, California. He was 67 years old. Many of you may remember him from Will and Grace. And then he had other great things that were coming up. I see you, Lori Wallace. Y'all, so from the New York Times, Leslie Jordan, a comic actor who after a late start in his performing career became a recognizable face from roles on numerous television shows, most notably Will and Grace, then achieved even more fame during the pandemic when his quirky homemade videos attracted millions of Instagram followers. He died yesterday in a car crash in Hollywood, California. David Shaw of RBS Gage Talent Agency, which represented him, confirmed his death. News reports quoting the police said Mr. Jordan's car crashed into the side of a building after he had apparently experienced a medical emergency. And people are starting to ask, what was that medical emergency? A spokesman for the Los Angeles Police Department confirmed that someone driving a BMW collided with a wall in Hollywood at 9:30 a.m. Pacific time and died. But he declined at that point to identify the victim. Here's a quote from Mr. Shaw, his talent agent. Not only was he a mega talent, but he was a joy to work with. He also provided an emotional sanctuary to the nation at one of the most difficult times. He has also found that he's become sort of a de facto comforter with those fans. There's one that pulled out where a fan pulled him aside when his rep was with him, said, "What I love, though, are the people that pull me aside and say, listen, I don't want to bother you, but I've had a rough go. I've been locked down. I've got kids. I look forward to your posts, and you really, really helped me through this tough time." And he goes on to say, when people tell me, this is Leslie Jordan now, given the quote earlier before his death, when people tell you things like that, you realize comedy is important. I'm going to personally say he was my go-to during the pandemic. If you don't have his book, his book is called What Y'all Doing or What You Doing. He was hilarious. There's times that I would just go through his feed just to laugh for a couple, 20, 30 minutes. Just really good guy. Really good guy. And the reason I'm somewhat drawn to him, he shouted me out a couple times. So it was just like, wow, you never met him, but with all the millions of people, followers, to get a shout out of nowhere is like, wow, okay. So when I heard that, when that breaking news came through from that press release, it was a shocker. I called my daughter and said, "Oh my gosh." She said, "Yeah, Mom, I saw it too." She said, "Isn't it sad?" And she goes, "Are you crying?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm crying." She said, "Did you know him like that?" And I said, "No, I didn't know him like that, but it's just a connection." I think we all find a connection with people, even in a distance on social media. So rest in peace, Leslie Jordan, rest in peace. His Instagram, somebody, whoever is controlling it, has put his image up and asked for people just pour love and thoughts and things out there. So people have started to do that. So it was very interesting. And of course, I said something as well. All right, I see you, Kenny Stanley. Dr. Angie says, "Rest in peace, Leslie, and rise in glory. He kept us encouraged during the pandemic." He really did. He really did. He said some other words, which I can't say here because I won't. But he kept me laughing quite often. I see you, Judy Neal. Good morning. All right, y'all. Rishi Sunak, I think I said that correctly, has been elected as Britain's new presumptive prime minister hours after Boris Johnson withdrew from the race. The 42-year-old Conservative Party leader will be the youngest to take office since 1812 and the country's first prime minister of South Asian descent. Now, he's not only the first non-white, but he is the wealthiest prime minister, worth $830 million. That's with the M dollars. Now, what's really interesting about that, and people are putting it out there, I said, ooh, King Charles isn't going to like this too much. But they're putting out there liquid cash. The prime minister has more than King Charles. I thought, well, that's funny. I see you, Misha. I see you, Stephanie Burbridge Hall. All right, y'all. USA Today is reporting that the Justice Department officials unsealed charges yesterday against 13 Chinese operatives, involved in 3 separate influence campaigns, including 2 intelligence officers accused in a brazen attempt to obstruct a federal criminal investigation into the Chinese-based telecommunication company Huawei. The suspects, who remained at large, allegedly paid 41,000 Bitcoin bribe to a US government employee who was actually working as a double agent for the FBI. Y'all, side note, I used to wonder if I could like get into that work and be like a double agent. My husband said I wouldn't survive. He said, you would be gone. I said, I know, but doesn't it just sound like so much fun? That's too much television, right? All right, y'all. In a quote, the defendants believe they had recruited the U.S. government employee as an asset. Attorney General Merrick Garland said. But in fact, the individual they recruited was actually a double agent working on behalf of the FBI. Now, the two other cases involved efforts to force the reparation of Chinese national living in the United States and a long-running Chinese intelligence operation to recruit U.S. citizens to act as agents for China. Y'all, that's really happening. That's not a movie. That's really happening. Somebody could walk up to you and try to recruit you. Just saying what I'm saying, y'all, that's happening. Dr. Angie said, wonder how long they will let a person of color man lead England. Well, there's that. Now, y'all, he was actually in the race running alongside. It was down to him and the most recent prime minister, Liz Truss. So that's just interesting within itself. So whatever. He resigned when there was a scandal a few years ago. He was the treasurer for the parliament, and he resigned. Y'all, there's so much. Y'all, I wish I could unpack all the news and give you all the twists and turns, because I'd be reading and stuff saying, well, I want to say this, and I want to say this, and I want to say this, but I only have 30 minutes, so I can't even get to all of it. And y'all know I'll be going over to 40 minutes. And y'all know Latrice Jones wants us to be 15, but it ain't going to happen. But y'all, there's so much. When I dug into that, his wife, the connection, they're Hindu, just so much to that. I wanted to bring all of that out, but I couldn't. But you're right, Dr. Shannon. All right, y'all, reporting from St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Y'all, at some point, this has to stop. At least 2 people were killed and 7 others injured after a gunman opened fire at a high school in South St. Louis yesterday morning. Police said the suspect also died at the area hospital after a standoff. So, y'all, that's happening also. Y'all, AP is reporting, Latrice Jones, we got work to do, girl. AP is reporting national test scores released yesterday showed the largest math declines ever recorded for 4th and 8th grade students across the country, while reading levels dropped to the lowest since 1992. Y'all, we have to reach back. We have to go back into our school systems, reach back, mentor, be a reading mentor, be a classroom mom. I don't even know if you can do these things anymore, but we got to figure out how to do these things and make it fun for learning for children across the board. We have to make it fun. We have to. I didn't want to talk about this, but it is news. And I'm building up to y'all. Y'all have y'all's pen and paper. I got some stuff for y'all from the Democratic side. Kanye, please stop. Somebody needs to help him. They really do. And there are now celebrities calling out, asking people to help Kanye. A Hollywood reporter, a Hollywood talent agency, CAA, drops Kanye West as a client yesterday over repeated anti-Semitic comments made by Ye this month. Now, others have joined CAA as they distance themselves from Ye, including JP Morgan Chase and the Italian designer brand. Now, it's intensifying. Many of you probably have already seen the videos of the white supremacists, national white supremacists, supporting him, and they're dropping down banners over the highway saying, we stand with Kanye, we stand with Ye. Yeah, there's a problem there. Now, what he doesn't understand, the FBI, the Secret Service, CIA, and everybody else is watching him. He's inciting some sort of violence, and I don't think he realized what's happening. And I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for his children. I feel sorry for his ex-wife. I feel sorry for anyone he's connected with, because I don't even know if he knows what he's actually doing. Now, I'm going to also say this. None of this started popping off to this degree until he sat down with Tucker Carlson. I want to go there. And I've been looking at, is there a connection? What did Tucker Carlson say to him off video? How is he egging him on? What did he promise him? There's a link to that. And this is my opinion. I don't have any facts on this. This is just what I've been thinking about Kanye in this Tucker Carlson interview on Fox News. So there's that. Now, I want to say this too. Did y'all know that the social media app Parler is ran by CEO George Farmer, who is the husband to the conservative activist Candace Owens? Did y'all know that? When I go digging for things, I keep digging and I keep digging. And I said, what? Who's this? Wait a minute. And I'll back up and I'll dig some more and I'll make some calls. I'll check out contacts. I'm like, you got to be joking. Remember the two of them at a fashion runway show came out with t-shirts. I'm not going to tell y'all what they said that made everybody gasp. That is happening. Now, Regina, it's interesting that Regina is saying, for those of you who are listening on podcast or audio, Regina is saying Adidas cut ties with him also. Now, there's some pushback on that because Kanye made a statement yesterday when he was being interviewed that Adidas cannot cut him because there's a clause that says that he has free speech. So it's going to be interesting to see that unfold because remember, he was already fighting with Adidas. It's a mess. It is just a mess. Somebody help Kanye. Somebody help him. Then, y'all, we have Brittany Griner. The appeal hearing begins today in Russia. The WNBA star was sentenced to 9 years in prison. So the appeal hearing begins today. Bring Brittany home. Bring her home. All right, y'all ready? Y'all have y'all's paper and pencil ready? Y'all got y'all's laptop, computers, whatever. Again, last week I talked about the GOP commitment to America. This week I'm going to talk about the Democrats. This is all on the ballot. It's all on the ballot. Y'all already 4.8 million ballots have been cast this year, and not everyone is into early voting yet. So let me tell y'all who begins today. Today is the 25th, right? The 25th, Hawaii, Missouri, and Louisiana and Utah. You can all begin early voting today. Yesterday was Arkansas, Colorado, Idaho, South Carolina, Texas. Today is Hawaii, Missouri, Louisiana, and Utah. And tomorrow will be West Virginia. So y'all can start voting. And they're saying this is a record number of 4.8 million ballots. All on Twitter, there were, and I can only share it like it is. All on Twitter, you saw all of these lines of Caucasian, of white people. And I was like, what's going on here? And they were just posting these lines, these different people. And then they were coming back with their full t-shirt or hats or whatever they had to take off, of course, going into, they all said beta on it. And I thought, this is interesting. And they were showing up thousands of people in line in Texas voting for Beto. I said, what is about to happen here? Will Beto become governor in Texas? That's going to be extremely interesting. All right, y'all. So 4.8 million ballots have been cast this year so far across 36 states in the 2022 midterm, which means 36 states are already voting, y'all, according to updated data from election officials, Edison Research, and Catalyst. Now, today, I want to start by sharing the Biden administration accomplishments, and then I will go to their plan. Now, you may want to go to their website. Their plan is 92 pages. Their plan is 92 pages. Their website is www.democrats.org. I believe that's right. Yes, thank you. I'm telling y'all better invest in Isaiah. Y'all better invest in that man and his business. But I gotta tell you, I'm disappointed. And I've been holding this in for a couple weeks. I'm a little disappointed because instead of updating their plan, they're still using their plan when the Biden and Harris ran for office. So their DNC convention plan from 2020 is still their plan. They keep their plan for 4 years and they have not updated it. And that's disappointing to me. And again, it's 92 pages of what? I was reading things saying, but what does this mean? But what does this mean? This sounds good, but what does it mean? And I want you to read it for yourself because we have to be educated. But if nothing more, I want the DNC to get someone who can help them with messaging. And this is not a new thing. People have been talking about their messaging for years. They must deal with their messaging. So let's start with their accomplishments so far, which again, if y'all would just talk about the accomplishments, I think y'all be all right. I think y'all be all right. All right, they signed the Inflation Reduction Act, which we've talked about that. They've improved health care for veterans. So we talked about that. They signed the Chips and Science Act. We talked about that a little bit. And just so that you know, y'all, the Chips and Science Act will help to compete with China by bringing manufacturing jobs back to America. The law makes historic investments in research and development to accelerate the industries of the future and advance the U.S. technology leadership. All great things. Why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about that right now? Yeah, I really need to wear these now. It's amazing how you wake up one day and you need glasses. And then they took historic action to address the gun violence epidemic. So President Biden brought together Democrats and Republicans to pass the bipartisan Safer Community Act, breaking a 30-year streak of federal inaction on gun violence legislation. This legislation took important steps, including requiring people under 21 to undergo enhanced background checks, closing the boyfriend loophole, and providing funding to address the youth mental health. That's all darn good. I don't think I've ever heard it this way. And I'm thinking, so you have this hidden on your website and not talking about it? What's up, Ladybug? I'm like, we need to know this information. So we're talking about the Democrats today. Last week we talked about the Republicans. They restored American leadership on the world stage. I thought, well, what is that? What does that mean? Well, I'm gonna tell you. Under the previous administration, confidence in the U.S. leadership around the world plummeted to historic lows. Since taking office, President Biden has worked to revitalize our alliances and restore America's position of leadership on a global stage. Then he talked about Russia and launched the unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, how President Biden rallied around our allies across the globe to ensure that Putin pays a steep economic price for the unjustified war of aggression. And then all these world leaders signed this. Well, why aren't you talking about that you were the one that brokered this deal? We need to know this. We need to know this. Diane says, why are voting rights even a discussion? That's a question. Hold on, I'm going to get there in a minute too. Ended America's longest war. This talks about after 20 years of conflict spanning 3 previous administrations, President Biden acted decisively to bring our troops home from Afghanistan. They talk about that. These are his accomplishments. I'm like, why aren't we listening to these things? Why aren't we hearing these things? He took action to address gender bias violence. Y'all, did y'all know this? Get this. In 1994, at that point, he was Senator Biden. He authored a Violence Against Women Act, which I knew that part, which provided legal protection against domestic violence and sexual assault for 28 years until it allowed to expire under the Trump administration. So it expired under the Trump administration. Well, as of March the 22nd, he reauthorized and strengthened the Violence Against Women Act. I'm like, well, did we not talk about this? That is some important stuff. I almost said something else right there. When I was by myself, I said it out loud. Y'all, he passed the American Rescue Plan. President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan Act into law, an unprecedented $1.9 trillion package, and helped combat COVID-19 and supercharge the historic economic recovery. Y'all, then it goes into the plan. Helped get over 500 million shots in arms, that's the COVID-19, delivered needed relief to families by sending 160 million checks to Americans, expanding food and rental assistance, and providing aid to thousands of small businesses. He expanded the child tax credit, safely reopened American schools. Today, over 99% of all schools are open, talking about people going back to their jobs, everything. The biggest year of job growth in American history. Y'all, in 2021, the U.S. economy added over 6.5 million jobs. Like over the minimum wage. Why aren't we talking about this? Somebody help me understand this. I'm like, let me get up in the White House. I'll help y'all. And he took action to combat COVID-19. He passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, which y'all all know that. And he took action to combat the climate crisis to reduce emissions. Y'all, all of this is what he's done so far. And he also expanded healthcare to millions of Americans. Get this, y'all. President Biden has brought down costs and expanded healthcare access for millions of Americans. Thanks to tax credits in the American Rescue Plan, a record 14.5 million Americans signed up. 14.5 million, y'all, signed up for coverage this year through the ACA. I don't remember what the initials mean anymore. Affordable Care Act, that's it. Including 5.8 new million customers. Y'all, including 5.8 new million customers. At the same time, President Biden's American Rescue Plan made quality coverage more affordable than ever, with millions of families on ACA plans saving an average of $2,400 yearly on their premiums. Why aren't we talking about this going into the midterm election? Nominated and confirmed historic Ketanji Brown Jackson, and took big steps towards a future made in America. And that's the electronic vehicles. Y'all, that's what he's done. That is exactly what the Democrats should be talking about right now. Forget all this other baloney. Forget all this other baloney. Kim Edmondson says, it's been talked about in passing, but they need to reiterate the messages. It's like, put that on loop over and over and over and over and over again. All right, now, where do they stand? Where do they stand? The Democrats believe that the economy should work for everyone. Healthcare is a right, our diversity is our strength, and democracy is worth defending. Okay, that sounds real good. How you going to do that? How are you going to do it? Democrats across the country are working hard to build a better America. Again, how? How are you doing that? We're fighting to build an economy that works for everyone by lowering costs for working families and investing in the middle class. How? Again, how are you going to do this? Democrats are dedicated to ensuring a stronger and more just future for America. Okay. So now we get to this 92-page document, of course, with 6 minutes. I don't have time to go through all of it. So I'm going to give you the highlights. Well, they're going to protect Americans and recovery from COVID-19 pandemic. We're in that. We see that. Okay, we got it. We got new shots now. We got that. Okay, so I'm going to go to the next one. Building a stronger, fair economy. Okay. I hear what you're saying, but we got to talk about that, y'all. We got to talk about that. So let me go to that page, and I have it all on my iPad, so I just got to scroll over. Build a stronger, fair economy. All right, that's on page 13, if y'all want to know where it is when you get there. It says the economy is not working for the American people. In a matter of weeks, the abject failure of the former president and his administration, their lack of response to COVID-19. Okay, let's stop right there. When I read just that, I stopped and said, why are we talking about the former guy? And that's when I realized this is written in 2020 and you haven't made any updates. You need to scrape his name from all of that because he no longer is there. Stop even talking about him. Talk about what you're going to do. How are you going to build a stronger and fair economy? How are you going to do that? They're talking about our economy was rigged against working families. Okay, it was rigged, but what are you doing to unrig it? What are you going to do? Y'all, I must say, I was a little disappointed. In this. It talks about America builds itself as a land of opportunity, but intergenerational mobility has plummeted. Okay, so how you going to bring it back? And we got to stop getting off of these words, build back better. What are you going to do? What are you actually going to do? I'm not done. It says protecting workers and families and creating millions of jobs across America. Okay, we read in the accomplishments, some of that was done, but yet some of it's not done. Raising wages and promoting workers' rights. Well, how are you going to do that? And they're talking about they want to get $15 an hour by 2026. I thought we were trying to get $15 an hour based upon what Biden was running on when he was running for the president of the United States. Now, why does this say 2026? Why? Why is this taking so long here? Why can't we do something about it now? He goes on, talks about the Labor Act, enacting robust work family policies, investing in the engines of job creation. Well, who do we need to bring to the table to talk about job creations? Yeah, I'm still on just that one piece right there. Just still on that one piece right there. It says Democrats continue to support the National Space Administration. They missed a word. It should be NASA. And are committed to continuing space exploration and discovery. Well, what does that have to do about what you're saying? Y'all, really, I'm a little disappointed because when I read this, their 92-page plan, I read word for word all 92 pages of it. My question came back to these are a lot of words. So I go back to the other one, and it's like, okay, this was just short and it's a one card thing. But then I think about, well, you got 92 pages of fluff from me. What does this mean? Y'all, these are the questions we need to ask when we're going in to vote. We need to be asking these questions. Build a fair system of international trade for older workers. Well, what does that look like? There's no answer of how they're going to do any of these things. Putting home ownership in reach and guaranteeing safe housing for every American. Again, how? Throughout their entire piece, I was asking how. Leveling the economic playing field. How are you going to do that? Reforming the tax code to benefit working families. How? Curbing Wall Street abuses. How? Ending poverty. How are you going to do this? And $15 an hour is not going to end poverty because we're in the middle of an inflation. Protecting consumer rights and privacy, tracking runaway corporate concentration, guaranteeing a secure and dignified retirement. All of that, I asked the question, how? Y'all, again, I'm already up to page 26. Just giving you the highlights. And underneath that, I was grabbing some of the information for you, but I come back with asking the question, how? How are we going to do that? How are you going to do that? How? How? Then the next one, achieving universal, affordable, quality health care. Well, we see that they're already working on that, and that looks good. So I'm not going to stay there. They're talking about securing universal health care through a public option, which they did accomplish that. Bringing down drug prices, they did do that when it came to the Inflation Reduction Act. Reducing health care costs, they're working on that. Expanding access to mental health, they're working on that. Expanding long-term care and support, they are working on that. Eliminate racial, gender, and geographic health inequities, they're still working on that. But a lot under the health, I have to give it to them. They are on it. They are on it. But here's their next one. Protecting communities and building trust by reforming our criminal justice system. There's a lot of work that needs to be done there. A lot of work. And they have about 10 pages of how they're going to do that. But I have to be honest, y'all, in reading those 10 pages, I was not sure what they were doing. I have to be honest. I'm going to be fair and balanced here. I don't know what they're doing. Now, they're 2 years in this 2020 plan. And again, their accomplishments are really good when I read those to y'all. And then you can get the accomplishments. I'll give that to you in a few moments. You can go and look at them yourself so you can break down everything that was being said there. But there's a lot here that's written, but there's no instruction or on a forecast of how they're going to do that. I see you, Monica Lowe. Monica says, can you send something to their communication people to update? I sure can. Yes, and we can do it together from the NewsInMotion viewers. Because I looked at this and I said, there's a lot of words. And I'm going to say this, and I hope this is not offensive in any way. A lot of the words written in this document, if you don't know how to pronounce words, if you don't have time to go and look up some words, you would be lost. And if somebody is downloading this as they're going into the voting, their voting locations for the midterm elections, you want them to be engaged in this written document, not being overwhelmed. Seriously, a lot of words I knew, but there were some I had to look up like, what is this? What does this mean? And I think I'm pretty good with this. Mike Nicholson says, we want to know the how. We do. I really want to know the how. I kept highlighting and saying, how. And then it says, need that SAT vocabulary. It's a lot. They packed a lot in here. Now, what I will say about the Democrats, they gave you a document, 92 pages, more so than the Republicans that gave you this one page, this one sheeter right here. Can y'all see that? This one sheeter right here. And I thought, okay, this is great. So at least the Republicans are vague and they can say, well, that's not what we meant. But the Democrats, you put so much, they say less is better. Less is better. Jacqueline said, what's your plan? What's your plan? That's it. Then the next one is healing the soul of America. And I thought, how are we going to do that? And they start by saying protecting American civil rights. That sounds good. Can we also protect voting rights? Hello, Diane Ladybug, if you're still on here. They're talking about achieving racial justice and equity. They're talking about, I got to get some more, protecting women's rights, protecting LGBTQ plus rights. Excuse me for saying that wrong. Protecting disability rights. Honoring indigenous tribal nations. Just so much more that's on here. Now, I will say this about the tribal nations. In the home page, after you get past, because when you first go in there, they're going to ask you for some money. You got to click that out and keep going. So you go back in there. I was so impressed. And I have a note on here. They listed all of the tribal nations and they gave them credit. They really spoke highly of every tribal nation. And I thought, wow, that's powerful within itself. And you could tell it wasn't just words. It was well written, and you could tell it was emotional, and there was some thought behind that. So that was powerful. That was powerful. Yes, Diane Ladybug, she says, I'm here. So the tribal nations, and then they talk about ending violence against women, ending the epidemic of gun violence, which they're working on, supporting faith and services, supporting press freedom, supporting the arts and culture, and voting rights. Well, why? Here's my first question. Why are voting rights at the end of that piece? Why isn't it in the beginning? Could your platform be built straight from voting rights? Voting rights for everybody. Voting rights. So that was a little disappointing. And then it go into combating the climate crisis and pursuing environmental justice. And through that, there's several pages on justice. I mean, I can't even go through it. Several, at least 10 pages. Restoring and strengthening our democracy. Now, under that, they do have protecting and enforcing voting rights. So let me go into that. And I know we're past 8 o'clock, but hold on, y'all. Democrats are committed to the sacred principle of one person, one vote. And we will fight to achieve that principle for every citizen, regardless of race, income, disability, status, or English language proficiency. We stand united against a determined Republican campaign to disenfranchise voters through voter ID laws, unconstitutional and excessive purges of the voter rolls, and closures of polling places in low-income neighborhoods on college campuses or communities of color. Americans should never have to wait in hour-long lines to exercise their voting rights. Okay, that's great. But can we get down to the voter suppression? Can we get down to the racial profiling? Can we get down to even in Ohio, they're trying to they have an amendment where they want you to only have 30 days from registration. You got to wait 30 days. And if I shared yesterday, if October the 11th this year was the last day to register to vote, they would not have been able to vote for November the 8th because the 30th day had not passed. That's voter suppression. That's making us wait. And if that law passes in Ohio, I just want y'all to hear this. And it's written to make you think that they're only talking about non-citizens. But remember, there was that piece there, that 2-letter word that said, or those who do not qualify to vote. That's the 30 days. You register, you need 30 days. Y'all better vote right on that one, okay? I'm not going to tell you how to vote. That's not what I'm here for. But we need to think about that. So that's voter suppression. And what they're doing, they're trying to slip that in. And they're trying to put that on there. And so when it comes to the general election, there'll be a lot of people who are out here trying to push to get out here to vote. Well, the last day to register be a certain date, and then they won't have enough time in there to register. So those types of things need to be written under the protect and enforce voting rights. That needs to be there. Okay. And then they talk about Democrats will strengthen our democracy. How? How are you going to do this? And then they say we will fully implement the Help America Vote Act. Well, what is that? We had the John Lewis Act. Now y'all done called it the Help America Vote Act. That's another messaging problem for the Democrats. Stop changing words. We still waiting on the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Now we got the Help American Vote Act. Which one is it? Are they two of the same? Are they two different things? Tell us what they are. These are the kind of questions we need to be asking. They're talking about gerrymandering here distorts our democracy, which is true, which is still being held up here in the state of Ohio. Reforming the broken campaign finance system. Y'all been talking about that for years. Why not get to work on these things? Why don't you have a community collaborative? Democrats, Republicans, all of you have your group community collaborative where we can go through and get some of these bills written out, put on the desk so y'all can pass them. We can write them ourselves. All you got to do is tell us what to do. We're your constituents. We can do these things. And by the way, call me up. I can really help you with this messaging. This is messed up here. And then building an effective, transparent federal government, making Washington, D.C. the 51st state, guaranteeing self-determination for Puerto Rico, supporting U.S. territories, and strengthening the U.S. Postal Service. That's well overdue. I mean, that Postal Service may be gone by now. And then their next thing is creating a 21st century immigration system. But they never say how. They keep bringing back stuff that the former guy did, and then providing a world-class education in every zip code. Now, y'all, that sounds very good. And I read through this about how you're going to have a world-class education system for every zip code. Y'all, it looks really good, but they never say how they're going to do it, how long it's going to take, who's going to come to the table. They do talk about STEM, which is really good. They talk about making higher education affordable and accessible. That sounds good. They're talking about providing borrower relief from crushing student debt, which, that was halted by six Republican states just recently. And the White House administration had till 6 p.m. yesterday to submit their writing in opposition. And then finally, renewing American leadership. So there you have it. A lot of work, and I'm only on page 76 of the 92-page document. So there's so much there. I want you to download it and read it for yourselves. I really do, y'all. There's a lot of information here, but it's information I believe we all need. That was a lot. There they have two things. And it's 92 pages, and I ended just by giving you quick title headlines at page 73. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk more. I'm going to do a piece on critical thinking. I asked my husband, the professor, if I could use his write-up so we can really talk about how to become critical thinkers when it comes to election and to our representatives and to arm ourselves to go to town hall meetings. So that was a lot. That was a lot. I want to hear in the thread if you are able to chat in the thread, or if those of you are listening on any of the podcast platforms or audio write-ins, because I want to hear from you. Last week, again, I did GOP. This week, I did Democrats. Next week, I will do independents. Tell me if this information you want to hear. Jacqueline may have answered this. We need to say how we want to accomplish these great ideas before someone else takes our ideas and put their spin on them. Absolutely. Kim Edmondson, good question. So a lot has to be done there. Kenny Stanley said, here's what I don't understand. Republicans have the majority in both branches. They push their whole agenda. When they have both branches. Okay. Democrats won't push anything because they want to be fair later for that. Yeah, we got to really get to the root of it. And this is very concerning. It is very concerning, very concerning. So please put in the chat if this is stuff that you look forward to here on News in Motion, or if I gave you way too much information, if you prefer me to do it differently, let us know. Now, for those who want to see a lot of this, We can't put it on the chat, but if you join our Patreon, we will start putting this information in our Patreon. Kim Edmonds said this was great. So if you want to join Patreon, you go to patreon.com. That's patreon.com /Gail Dudley, GAILD as in David, UD as in David. If you want to become a Patreon subscriber, we have brackets for as low as $3, and we have brackets that are higher. And it depends upon which bracket you take is how you'll get that information. But yes, patreon.com /Gail Dudley. Dr. Antoinette said, please don't change a thing. I have to be honest with you all. I love what I do. And I think it comes out. I think it shows every time I'm on here. I love what I do. I love bringing y'all the content. I love bringing y'all the information. The thing that I hope we will see as Black and brown people, because that's the majority of our viewership and listeners. Now that we're on different platforms, that may change. Because of what I do, I have a prayer, and that prayer is that more people would want to show their thanks through support, because we are a grassroots aggregated media outlet, bringing you relevant commentary. And it really has turned into an educational show. And I've been able to accept that that's what it is. And I pride myself on it. For many of you who don't know, I used to be a staff development and trainer. I used to write curriculum for staff development training space for customer service. I did some diversity training years ago. I'm a certified diversity trainer. I just don't participate in do it much anymore. But and I keep that up. So I have to take tests and things to keep that up. So I have all those things: civic engagement, philanthropy, volunteerism, sponsorship, all of those types of things. I did, I had a life before doing this, right? And sitting down with my business coach yesterday, it was that time. I did everything I was supposed to do. I still have one more thing I have to complete, and Kim Edmondson is helping me do that. And I will have October secure in my goals my goals and objective. But something that happened yesterday, my business coach said to me, and I believe all of us should have a coach. Every last one of us should have a coach. She said to me yesterday, she said, I just want you to know, over the past 10 years, she looked at the past 10 years. She said, over the past 10 years, and then adding over 2.5 years ago, NewsInMotion and this platform and your podcast, she said, you have written more than 10,000 pieces of content. I said, what? And so she gave it to me on an Excel sheet. And I was like, wow, to see what you're doing and where you come from. And I thought, wow. She said, so with that, we need to change your title. And I said, well, I'm just a host of NewsInMotion. She says, no, you're actually a producer. She goes, you have produced this much content. You have produced this through your written work, through your curriculum writing, through the books, through the articles. And what we call these, what I'm doing today is called a run of show. She goes, you have written run of shows for NewsInMotion. You have written run of show for all your podcasts. You have written run of show. Yes, Misha, secure a coach and mentor. Absolutely. And hear me out, you have to pay them. You have to pay them. If they tell you it's $100, you better run, because they're not good. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just tell you that it's an investment. You have to invest in yourself. So she goes, you're a producer. She says, so we're getting ready to change them. I'm gonna go in through my Twitter and Instagram and LinkedIn, all that, and update it. She says, you are a producer. You are an online personality. And she said, you are a philanthropist. She says, engage those. She says, get comfortable with them. That's who you are. And I'm sharing that today because it really touched me. It relate. I'm like, that is who I am. So I'm that producer. That's what I do. I'm that on-air personality. That's what I do. And I'm that philanthropist. And that's not just money. That's also pouring into the lives of other people. And that is what I do. That's something I want all of you to start thinking about. I've gone to the inspirational message now. That's something I want all of you to begin to think about. What is it? We're at the end of October, y'all. October the 31st is Monday. And then we have November and December. Start strategizing and thinking about who you are and what you want to do. And the inspirational message, if you need a title, is be you. Be you. It's so important to be you. I cannot tell y'all how free I am with my hair just being this naturally curly state. There's like an empowerment behind that. And people are just stopping me, complimenting me. And I'm thinking, I don't even know you. But they're like, your hair. They were like, you walked in the room and everybody turned around. And I thought, really? Because I don't see that. I don't relate to those types of things. But there's something about the confidence behind that. So when my business coach said to me yesterday, you are a producer. You have put out into the universe over 10,000 pieces of written content. She goes, you produce. She goes, and it's still going, and people are still touching it. People are still reading it. People are still seeing it. She said, you found your groove. She goes, you went from, which prayer will always be a part of who I am. It's who I am. That's what God, that's my ministry of prayer. She says, you went from ministry to prayer to women's ministry to millennial ministry to media to politics. She said, you have now found a groove. And she showed me when you do what you're called to do, she showed me how that graph changed as soon as I accepted my space in the political arena. It just it went off the graph. She said, here's your downloads. Here's your downloads when you were talking about mimosas. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. She goes, and Mike Nicholson, I hope you're seeing we almost to the 60-minute mark. She says, here's your downloads when you were talking about mimosas. She goes, yeah, people joined, they had fun, they asked questions. She goes, that was a good number. That's a good number. She goes, look at the downloads when you went social justice, political, civic engagement, commentary, news, politics. She said, look at the difference. She said, because you're comfortable there, you are you there. She goes, you're you when you come to prayer. She goes, but your prayer is more one-on-one. It's the written books. It's when you're out doing something on the ministry platform. She goes, that's never going to go away. That's you. That's who you are. She said, but look at the difference when you engage talking about, she pulled out when we talked about the filibuster, that was probably 2 years ago, y'all. She said, look at the comments and the numbers. She said, just look at that. Look at how many people responded to the filibuster. She said, look at that. She goes, people want to know that. She said, last week when you talked about the GOP, she said, look at how many responses you received from that. She goes, I'm waiting to see what's going to happen today when you talk about the Democrats. Well, tomorrow, she was talking about yesterday. Tomorrow, when you talk about the Democrats. Y'all, be you. Your gift will make room for you. It really will. And I put up a Instagram story yesterday of someone, and it was for entrepreneurs, someone climbing up the step, but they kept falling off. And they would get back on the step, but they would be 2 steps down. They would climb back up, maybe 4 steps. They would fall off. They would get back, maybe 1 or 2 steps down. They keep climbing. They were like, that's entrepreneurship. You're going to keep falling. You're going to keep falling. You're going to keep falling. And it's not for the faint of heart, y'all. But there should be a draw on the inside of you that keeps you going, because it's your purpose. It's your divine assignment. It's who you are. Y'all, between now and the end of the year, I want to encourage you to find that spot. Find that thing that makes your heart sing. And once your heart starts singing, you know you're there. But understand this. It's not always going to sing soprano. At time, it may be alto or tenor, or there'll be times where you're just off kilter. In those seasons, don't give up. Don't give up. Do not give up. Y'all, we've been doing this thing for 2.5 years on NewsInMotion. 2.5 years we've been doing this thing on NewsInMotion. We've lost some people have come back, some people, and we do this with news every day. There's people I watch on news, I'm like, okay, I'm done with you for a while. I don't want to hear it. I'll come back later. We do that. I'm a Trevor Noah fan. And there's times like, I just can't do you this season. I just can't do it. Just can't do it for whatever reason. It doesn't mean that people don't like you. You in business, you cannot take it personally. You cannot take it personally. People have lives. They have other things to do. They cannot always support you. And this is something I learned in business. And this is a word of wisdom. And I hope you will take hold of this and run with this. This right here. In business, it's not personal. It is business. And you have to stop taking things personally. You have to stop and know this one thing. Your number one supporters, you're going to have a couple of your family, a couple friends, but they're going to be people you don't even know. Sometimes you don't want your posse on your business because it's oil and water. You can't do it because you're going to be open to wanting to hear from them because you want to please them. You want them to accept what it is that you're doing, and they could be the ones that will make you fall. Now, we all fall from time to time, and they don't mean it to hurt you. They mean it for good, but because they're looking at you from the non-business side, they're looking at you as your girlfriend, as your sister girl, as your boyfriend, as your dude, as all of that. And they're like, we love you, we just want to help you. And that's great. But they may be interfering with your connection with what God is speaking to you in this season. So you might have to say, let me not let you get that close in this because I can't share all of this. Yes, you still want them to cheer you. Like we talked about yesterday, cheer, lift up, encourage, all of that. That's important. But they don't have to be side by side with you while you're going through your financials, while you're going through your business, while you're going through your strategic plan. They don't need to be a part of any of those things. No, don't let them in that close. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday. We had a meeting. We had a meeting and a friendship all at the same time. We were talking yesterday, and we were talking about there's some people we just can't let in like that. We just can't like, I don't need you to be that close to my finances or what it is that I'm doing because I don't know if you can handle where it is that God is taking me. And that's not just me, that's all of us. And we have to start thinking that way. I know I'm way over time, but there's something that somebody needs to hear from this. So I just need to keep going here. Be mindful of the business that you keep. Be mindful of that. Be you. Do you encourage yourself in this season is so important. There'll be times where the numbers don't look right, but you have to have enough power and encouragement behind you to keep going. There'll be times where the money's going to be like, it's just not there. Be okay with that. Look at it and build from there where you are. There'll be times where people are not going to be supportive. There'll be times where people are not going to say, well done. But that's not the well done you want to hear anyway. There's only one person I want to hear me say, well done. And I want him to say with boldness to me, look at me in my eye. Well done, my good and faithful servant. Well done. And that well done will be the most important well done I ever want to hear from anybody. Seriously, I only want my husband to tell me well done. I only want that one person to tell me well done. And that's the person that I strive for. I'm asking the question. And I saw a sweatshirt and I'm going to need to get it. I can't find it anymore. I've been looking for it on Instagram because that's where I saw it before. It says, prayer is a part of my business plan. It is a part of my business plan. It is. All right, y'all. I don't know what made me go all the way there. But anyway, y'all stay well. And remember, make some bold moves. I'm out.